no more struggling. Machembele, imani within.
Hey, Benjamin Webi, karibu sana to the show.
Asante.
Great to have you here.
It's great to be here.
Hey, Mazi, I see you still got it.
I still got it. I've never stopped playing.
Yeah.
This is pretty much what I spend a lot of my time doing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wonderful. And that song you performed there was actually one of your own songs.
Absolutely.
Tell us a bit about it.
This is a song called New Day.
Yeah.
And it's a very hopeful, upbeat, pick-me-up, encouraging type of song.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about it is that it was written in a very discouraged place.
Okay.
And I think the reason it came to me the way that it did was because I needed to hear something that would keep me getting out of bed every morning. You know, as human beings, we tend to forget, you know, that God has given us life. And so then he expects that we would use all the gifts and all the opportunities that we get to honor him and to glorify his name. But sometimes we make it about ourselves and about our disappointments and the discouragement that we sometimes find ourselves dealing with.
Yeah.
And then we get lost in a little bubble of discouragement.
Yeah.
And so we don't want to wake up in the morning, or we struggle to. Not that it's an unusual thing, and sometimes it's not really our fault.
Yeah.
But it's life. And so I just made a decision that I wasn't going to stay in a place of discouragement.
Okay.
But I needed a reminder that I would keep playing every time I find myself facing discourage,ment.
Wow.
And so that's how New Day was born.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about your sound. You are not, what do I say? You're not our typical gospel artist.
Right.
Is that okay?
Yeah,
I think that's
okay.
fair.
Yeah,
You actually dabble in some other genres, let's say. So describe those for us.
I think my primary influence has always been R&B, because I grew up listening to R&B music. So everything that I write, everything that I play will have a very succinct R&B influence in there. But I have found a way over the years to double that up with Afropop, with the acoustic sound, which is very, it's my signature sound really. And I'm not afraid to adventure into the different facets or sounds of music.
Yeah.
So I've incorporated, as I said, Afropop, pop, R&B being pretty much where I stuck everything on. And I many times just go where the music leads me. So, I mean, even when I started out, I was definitely left when everyone was right.
Yes.
You know,
and you've been doing this for a while.
Yes. I mean,
long?
I first stepped into a studio in 2003, and my first record came out in 2005. So it's been, what, 15 years of having records out.
Yeah.
But 20-something years of being a musician,
Wow.
essentially.
And you have how many albums out now?
I have 3 albums, 3 studio albums. That's Outside My Window, number 1. All I Can Say, number 2. Lukundo, Love, number 3. 2 EPs and a bunch of singles in between.
Wow.
Yeah.
I actually bought your album.
Yes, you did.
And
yes.
it was years ago.
Yes, yes.
Oh my gosh.
I signed it for you. In fact, it was your husband who got it for you as a surprise, I think. We bumped into each other somewhere, and he was like, oh, yeah, hook me up. And that was
amazing. But 20 years, that
much.
is really extensive.
Yes.
And, you know, as we're following along, I'm a Namagani Sadiq, tuko hapo tu, pole tu.
Yeah.
But tell me, to do 20 years of gospel, in a gospel industry where you're really, as you've said, when everybody else was going left, you are going right. When they're going
Pretty
right,
much.
you're going left.
Yeah.
How have you sort of maintained yourself there, or at least purpose to stick it out and to stick true to your signature sound when we've seen, and you know, DJ Siddiq is here, he knows what has been, you know, what are the trends, I guess you could call them in music. How do you stay, you know, firm and committed and dedicated and focused on your signature sound?
Well, I think it starts with having a conviction right at the very beginning that this is something that I was going to do. I knew I was going to be a musician. I knew that I wanted to pursue music as one of the ways through which I could glorify God. It's morphed into a bunch of other things along the way. But music has been the core, the foundation of everything. And that conviction led me to beginning to discover what my gift looked like. I mean, I grew up in a musical family. My first influence was my mom. She plays and sings as well.
Okay.
And so I learned very early, which is why it's been so many years of being a musician. It's my influence being my mom got me on that path. I got interested because I'd watch her play, and I wanted to learn and play as well. And so I knew that this is something I wanted to spend a good chunk of my life, as much as my life would span, playing. And so I had to now begin to ask myself, what am I going to play? How am I going to sound? And what am I going to talk about? What is it going to be about? And one of the things that was very clear to me, even at that beginning place, all those years ago, was that I wanted to sing about my faith, my relationship with God, and even just how that can be related to by other people.
Okay.
And so I didn't get in with that industry mentality for I want to fit into the industry.
Right.
I didn't come in wanting to make a mark in that way. I just wanted to spend my life doing something that I believed I was good at, something that came naturally to me, something I was very passionate about as well, and being able to use that as a testimony or a way to affect other people's lives.
Right.
And so, I mean, it didn't come without opposition. When I started to put out songs, my first few singles out of my first album, that is, I mean, I was even told, even by gatekeepers, this is not going to work because it doesn't work for this region. In fact, it's not going to work for Africa.
Yeah.
You know, everyone is singing this, you're singing all the way over there. So, you know, it's nice, but it's... And I realized that was a test. They didn't mean this badly. You know, they were just using the data that they had, the experience. Yeah, exactly. But it was a test for me because I had to be very clear about what my conviction was and why I was doing what I was doing. The why was so important for me.
Okay. And
so to answer your question of how have I stayed consistent, you know, to paraphrase you, it's really that conviction. The why. Why do I do this?
Yeah.
And what am I doing it for? Who am I doing it for?
And it's great that you're saying that, because that really ties in well with what we were talking about in our devotion segment about Daniel.
Yeah.
You know, that really not compromising in your values and everything else is really a matter of being convicted about something and choosing to follow through with it until the very end. But also this is a testimony to a lot of people and their parents that indeed you can have a creative life.
Absolutely.
You know, you don't look like you're starving.
God has been good. God has been good.
You don't look like you're starving.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is 20 years plus.
Yes.
So I think what for the young guys who are wanting to get into the creative space, what are some of those key disciplines that you think have allowed you to be able to do this and not look like you're starving for 20 years?
Well, first of all, I think, again, for me, it'll always go back to the place of conviction, understanding what is God calling me to do. I think it always starts from a place of asking God, what is it that my life is? What am I here for? Because it could be easy, you could very easily pursue something that says, this is what I want to do because it looks fantastic, it looks like that's what's winning, it looks like that's what's happening. But that's not for you.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you do pursue something that's not for you, eventually you will struggle and you will fizzle out. Consistency will become very hard because as human beings, we don't have the capacity to remain consistent for so long without burning out.
Yeah.
You know, that's why God's grace is consistently sufficient. He's the one who sustains us.
Yeah.
And he's the one who provides.
Amen.
You know,
exactly.
a lot of people are the ones. A lot of people ask and say, you know, how do you make your money? You know, how do you sustain? You know, first of all, I'm a family man, so that's a dynamic. How do you take care of your family doing music? No, music doesn't do really well in Kenya. How do you guys? I know you don't sell many records. God provides.
That's right.
God provides.
Come on.
I don't make money. I'm provided for.
Come on, that's exactly what we were saying.
Yeah,
exactly.
and the truth of the matter is, as long as I stay walking in a place of purpose, going back to the place of conviction, knowing that this is what God has called me to do, and so I'm staying faithful.
Yeah.
God didn't call us to be successful.
Come
He
on.
called us to be faithful.
Come on.
So if you know what it is, or you're discovering what it is that God has called you to do, and then you stay faithful, He provides the grace, He provides the strength, He provides the vision, and He clarifies it. He gives you the sustenance, now physical, whether it's money, whether it's opportunities, because He orders our steps. The Bible says that the steps of a righteous person are ordered of the Lord.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the secret.
Wow.
So whether it's being a musician, a graphic designer, a television host, a radio host, as long as it is where God has placed you, there's provision for that.
Wow.
You step outside of that, you have to sustain yourself, and that's hard.
Well, I actually want to relate that to Sadiq's question earlier. And I don't know, Sadiq, if that if his approach to it, you know, makes sense to you and hopefully makes sense to a lot of young guys.
Yeah.
Do you think that's something that many of the upcoming artists in whatever field can actually pursue? Because that's a very profound statement, that you're recognizing it's not about you and trying to do and be I like how you said that God doesn't call us to be successful, he calls us to be faithful.
Yeah.
Eish.
Yeah. And that's what I've discovered over the last, I mean, I've had many years to think about this,
True,
you know.
yeah.
And the truth of the matter is, yes, let's acknowledge that we do live in an environment and in an industry that's very difficult to, you know, remain consistent for so many years. The
Yeah.
discouragement is real.
It's a lot.
very real.
Yeah.
And then again, we've also just come through a pandemic, okay? So that has also upset
There's
so
that
many
too.
different things.
Yeah.
So if there was no conviction and there was no understanding that, you know, I mean, I'm exactly where God needed me to be, this would have just changed everything. Like, this would have been the year I would have quit. After 20-something years, I'd have been like, can't, thanks. Yeah,
Where-
so that's where it goes back to.
Okay.
That's how.
Wow.
Alright. So Webi sijui tuna hii mwaka yani ni kama imeenda tu hivyo.
Imeenda.
Yeah.
Tumesikia tu tuko November.
Yeah.
So sijui the next couple of years ama wacha tu tuongelele next year inakaaje for Webi. What do you expect nini?
First, I'm working on a new record right now. So nafanya a EP, 5 songs.
Yeah.
I can actually say what it's called. It's called
Okay.
Let the Light In.
Okay.
It's a worship-inspired EP, and so I'm looking forward to putting that out in the first quarter of next year. So safely I can say February. Yeah.
Yeah.
So faithfulness
Yeah.
is what next year looks like.
Yeah.
Faithfulness is what it looks like, and continuing to do what God has called me to do the way He wants me to do it.
Yeah.
So right now I'm doing a bunch of things. Of course, I'm making music, I'm podcasting, I'm writing, I'm vlogging,
Wow.
I'm creating content,
Yeah.
expressing my gift in every way that it can be expressed.
But Webi, let me ask you this,
Yeah.
because this relates to a question Sadiq asked earlier.
Uh-huh.
And he had given the example of even him as a DJ. He
Yeah.
knows he's skilled in what he's doing.
Yeah.
Angekuwa booked kwa maclub saa zote.
Monday to Monday.
Monday to Monday. And for you,
Yeah.
and because of this sort of sound that you do,
Gotcha.
R&B.
Yeah.
R&B was originally, you know, go to Boys to Men.
Yes.
When we used to have those two notebooks, my
Jagged
mom
Edge.
chukwad mine.
Tulikuwa na
you
lyrics
know,
book.
the lyrics, okay, my mom chomad mine, but anyway, it's okay.
That looks like a woman
Pentecost
that-
wacha nikwambie. Anyway, she chomad mine, but hallelujah, thank
Yeah.
you, I'm grateful.
Yeah.
But I feel like, have you ever sort of been in that place? Have you ever been tempted like that one? Because for you, I feel like you can just
Easily.
penya very
Kwanza yake
easily.
it's so wide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can penya so easily.
Oh, my
and then
goodness.
still go back to lead worship on Sunday.
Well, the thing is, I have. Technically speaking, I actually have. My third studio album, Lukundo Love, was inspired by love. So in that, I'm
Okay.
talking about romantic relationships.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm talking about relationships between parents and children, relationships with money, relationships with self, you know, relationship with society as it stands. But of course, a very strong anchor for the album is romantic love, because, you know, that's one love that we talk a lot about.
Okay.
But the caveat is, I talk about it from a God values, or from values, a God perspective point of view. All right? Because at the end of the day, we have to acknowledge that life is very wide.
Yeah.
We have very many different aspects and experiences and facets of life.
Yeah.
You know, we fall in love, we get hurt, we struggle with stuff, we
Sure.
deal with people.
True.
So how do we talk about those things
Okay.
in a way that, yes, someone else out there who doesn't even have to be a Christian can relate
Can
and
relate.
understand,
Yeah.
but we're still glorifying God in that space.
Okay.
I think it's just finding that balance. And
So
for me, it became
Christians
easy.
going to perform in a club?
I've done that. I've performed at clubs. I've performed even at a fashion show. Once it was very interesting.
Okay.
You know, I've performed in very many different places, corporate events, weddings,
Yeah.
you know, all of the secular environments. And what I've found that is really interesting is that people's hearts are open and receptive as long as it sounds good, as long as they love it, and as long as it relates to them. They can see themselves in the songs.
Okay.
That's it. That's still worship, by the way.
Okay.
Worship isn't just that we are singing, of course, for someone who doesn't understand the difference. Worship isn't just singing on Sundays. It's actually every single day.
That's true. That's
Yeah,
true.
so,
All right.
yeah.
Well, I want us to take a break.
Sure.
And when we come back, Webi is going to be performing some of his songs for us.
Yeah.
And of course, DJ Sadiq also has some mixes for us. Najua kuna watu wameshaanza, kuna mtu amesema anataka hip hop. So
Yes.
we'll see what DJ Sadiq can pull up for you guys. But remember, 111 444 111 is the SMS line. Send in your feedback and your comments.
Dikalomba Baba yetu uliye mbinguni, jina lako litukuzwe, ufalme wako na ufike, utakalo lifanyike duniani kama mbinguni.
Hey.
That is the Lord's Prayer in my language, Kitaita.
Wow, it's beautiful.
Yeah, thank
Wacha
you,
nikwambie
thank you.
kitu.
Niambie.
Ni vile tu leo my camera people are ladies. Others wangekuwa huko chini sasa ningekuwa napigwa tu makelele hapa kwa earpiece. Shout out to you, Lynette and Carol.
Thank you for the love.
And Carol, producer pia.
Yes.
Mi
Yeah.
naona kuna siku Sadiq is going to be making some very serious decisions. Mi nitachangia hiyo surprise.
Okay.
We'll make special appearance. Ama namna gani?
Ndani. Amen, si ndio?
Kabisa.
Na mimi nishakubali, kwa hivyo that one step is done.
Niko mbele mbaya.
Wow. Webi, that was beautiful. We really do appreciate
Thank you,
you.
guys.
And you've said you have an EP coming out soon.
Yes.
And it's called, once again?
Let the Light In.
When can we expect that out?
In February. I can't give a
February.
date exactly,
Okay.
but at least we can expect it in February.
Okay.
And I'm really looking forward to that being out. It's a worship-inspired album, but it sounds very contemporary. Again, it features all the things we've talked about, the R&B sound, but it's got pop, it's
Yeah.
got acoustic.
Yeah.
It's even got Mzansi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Nice.
it'll be a nice, interesting listening experience.
Fantastic. And in the meantime, how can people find you and get the rest of your music?
Well, they can actually follow me on social media because I've got links on there. It will be easier for them to find them there. So on Twitter, @Webi_, WEBI. On Instagram, @Webi Music, WEBIMUSIC.
Yeah.
@Webi Music. And on YouTube, Webi Music.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being here today. We really do appreciate you.
I appreciate
And you can hang tight for a moment as I just share some SMSs here. Someone here says, hey guys, looking great. Joyce hizo specs ni swaga ama za ukweli. Ni ukweli. Unajua kulikuwa kunanyesha. I needed to make sure I'm seeing properly today. But you say you're always a blessing. I love the Bible character today. We have to make up our minds to follow God and walk this walk of faith. And that's Irene watching from Limuru. I have someone here saying the show is great, kama kawaida, you inspire me, love the show. That's Magdalene tuned in from Kiambu. Someone else says today's devotional conversation has moved me. I've had situations where I've been compromising and that's wrong. I'll be careful not to do so anymore. That's Anastasia. And someone else says loving today's show from the devotion to the music. And you say also looking forward to Didi Man and enjoying his beautiful songs, especially High Five by, that's Anastasia as well.